to infinity and beyond.
This is me. This is how I win.
Were you rushing or were you dragging? Answer!
You're a wizard, Harry.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you.
No, I am your father.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
And here we go.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back inside the film room. Zach Owens here with Johnny Sobchak. Johnny, how are we doing on this fully vaxxed up episode of Inside the Film Room?
I'm doing well, Zach. Yes, we are indeed both totally vaxxed up, which is exciting and coming what it feels like at the right time as far as movies go.
That's the countdown is on. Johnny's been there. I'm just now joining the club. I just now got my second dose about an hour before we're recording. So we'll see how I'm feeling today, later today and tomorrow. But the countdown is on. Mortal Kombat decided to move its date back just so I can be fully what's the terminology? I don't know. The 14 days after getting my vaccine so that I can be fully 95% good to go, and I will be making a glorious return to the theater.
Damn, that's wild to think about. It's been so long. And I was just at the theater this past weekend for Godzilla versus Kong, of course, which we're gonna be talking about this episode. And it was like a regular opening weekend, man. It was full. People were in line getting snacks, or people. I mean, of course, it's reduced capacity, so it's when I say it's like sold out, it's still like 40 or 50% of what it would usually be at a sold out show. But it was fun. It was definitely a different type of environment and atmosphere.
I was hoping, I like you said, we'll get into the Godzilla vs. Kong. That's what's on tap today, as well as Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3, and as always, our news report. But I was hoping that I enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong. We'll get to that. But I was hoping that I would freaking love it, so that I'd be have the excuse to go back and see it in theaters again. See it in IMAX, because I watched it on HBO Max at home.
Right.
I have a good setup, but obviously it's not an IMAX setup or anything. So
really?
Once I get this, I do not have an IMAX theater in my home. But once I get my Stubbs membership at AMC cranked back up, you know what? 3 movies a week, I might as well. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's great having that back, and of course, like you said, we have that new release, and then we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3 to discuss as well. We both watched that. What have you seen? Anything else other than the film and the new episode?
I have not really been on my grind this week. It wasn't a TV week or a movie week.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've broken your pattern.
My one or the other, but no, I went home for I got a long weekend from work, so I got to go home to Charlotte and hang out with the family. Awesome. Bring Remy back to where he began. So we were mainly just hanging out, and I was able to convince my parents to watch Godzilla vs. Kong with me, but I did not get them to watch much of anything else. So I caught maybe the last half of, I don't know. Have you seen the movie Sahara from 2004 with Matthew McConaughey? Yeah. That's an all-time TNT movie. It's on and I'm watching it on a Saturday afternoon. So that was a good time, which I was very upset to learn that that's a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to a little bit of Top Gun. Didn't sit down and watch anything fully through though, other than GVK and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. How about yourself, Johnny?
Yeah, I know it was pretty busy week for me as well, so I didn't get to watch anything much outside of what we're going to be discussing. I did get to go back finally because with my sister and her boyfriend, we had been me and my sister had been rewatching them, but he had never seen any of the Harry Potter movies. So we were on Goblet
How
of
did
Fire.
he pass the boyfriend test?
Yeah, so we were on Goblet of Fire, and we finally got that knocked out because it's been a while since we watched Prisoner of Azkaban, and got that done, and it was a good revisit. It still holds up. It's a good film. I think especially that kind of last third, with Voldemort's return and the Cedric's death. And
That's
all
my boy.
that scene really does actually make me kind of emotional for some reason. I can't even. I mean, it's well done. I mean, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's it.
I know Jake and I have had this discussion plenty. What do you have a favorite Harry Potter movie or one that stands out the most?
That's tough. I really do like Goblet of Fire. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't know I don't really have a favorite. I don't think. I think by the end of this rewatch that we're doing, maybe I'll have one picked out. But
you can reevaluate.
Yeah, I have some love for all of them. I think at least a little bit. I don't think there's a bad one, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm a diehard Prisoner of Azkaban guy, and then Deathly Hallows Part 2 is my second favorite. But like you said, no bad ones. We had our big discussion. We did a full episode debating which one was the worst. But we each had our ideas, but it was this one is bad, but still better than most other movies that we would choose to watch. So
yeah, exactly.
Well, if that's all we've got in the chit chat opening phase, I think we should just go ahead and dive into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing, we haven't talked about this particular episode in the group chat or anything over the weekend, really. So I do know that your negativity, your disdain for this show is continuing in one direction, and I am in fact continuing in the opposite direction. So I think that's very interesting. I think that's interesting, but also I would like to save ourselves from just repeating the same argument over and over again, if not even an argument, but just I feel like I'm going to come on here and say, yeah, I thought it was fun. I'm just looking to have a good time, not think too hard about anything. And that's what it did. And that's why I liked it. And then you would say your argument that we've said on the last two episodes, but what about this episode? Power broker. Bucky and Sam embark on a mission to a criminal hideout to track down critical information on the super soldier serum. So again, a pretty general synopsis. That's probably the most in-depth one Rotten Tomatoes has provided so far. But we saw at the end of the last episode, Bucky and Sam teaming up, and the hint that Baron Helmut Zemo would be rejoining us, Daniel Bruhl's character from Civil War. And that is, in fact, the case. They break him out of his high security, which is not that high of security prison.
Yeah, the prison, it's laughable. I can't even. But continue.
And they team up together to go to Madripoor, which is this almost. I got Godzilla vs. Kong vibes from it, with the dark skyline lit up in the bright colors. It looked like the Smackdown area from GBK,
definitely.
But they're going to this lawless city that used to be a pirate haven, and it's basically the Marvel underworld. And so they're going to find the power broker, trying to figure out more information about the super soldier serum and who recruited the scientists from Hydra to help continue making this, because obviously Daniel Bruhl Zemo, he's not a fan of Avengers or super soldiers or anything, so he wants to get to the bottom of it as well. At least that's what he's putting on. So they team up. They're trying to figure out what to do. They get in some trouble. Sharon Carter shows up, bringing back the old Civil War secret agent vibe as well. And then they team up to find the scientist, but then Zemo kills him. Yeah. Spoiler alert. And I thought this had some pretty great action in this episode. Whatever you think about the plot, there were some really exciting set pieces and action. Feel free to disagree, but that was my opinion.
I feel like I barely remember the one bit of action I do remember the most. Probably the Sharon Carter stuff, in that shipping container area. But yeah, it was aight. It was aight.
What I want to know. I know we said not to speculate too much after our getting burned by WandaVision, but I've seen some theories. It's funny now that people are like more
not that
self-aware.
word. Not that
that
word.
What word?
Theories.
That no. People are saying who is the power broker? It's Mephisto. Oh my god, it's Mephisto.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Making fun of ourselves from WandaVision, but I've seen some theories saying that it's actually Zemo himself who's the power broker. I've seen some theories saying that Sharon Carter took those people down way too easily in the shipping container, and that maybe she's got the serum as well.
Right.
Anything? Do you even care enough at this point to formulate theories or have any speculation?
Definitely not, Zach. I mean, I have you heard? Okay, so yeah, we were joking about the Mephisto, like kind of memes that are going on with the theory side of things. But are there any actual legitimate theories that people are making? I haven't seen any or heard any or read any. But I guess the Sharon Carter thing is in play, and yeah, I don't know. It was kind of like this episode definitely once again leaned more into the Russo brothers MCU kind of style and storytelling. They're going from kind of one country to the next, causing some trouble along the way, breaking Zemo out of prison. And so how do you feel about that, by the way? Because coming out of last episode, we knew that it was Sam who was electing to go and talk to Zemo, right? Or like make contact with him.
Right. And then Bucky's the one who ends up actually pulling the trigger and
so
doing it without letting Sam know.
And we were wondering, well, how's that going to go down? Like, what is Zemo's role in the show going to be going forward? Because it did seem, in all the trailers and promotion and whatnot, like he was going to get out of prison, and we weren't sure how. And then in like 2 minutes,
I think there's still. Go ahead.
So in like 2 minutes, they do this little montage where it's like basically like played as a joke. They're like, "Oh, I'm Bucky. I want to get him out of there. I have this funny plan that we could do." And so you hear him describing the plan, and then you see the plan taking place like in the future. And so that goes down. And yeah, I didn't really like. I got the worst vibes from this because you know what it reminded me of. And I'm not even saying this movie's terrible because I think people like criticize it more than maybe it even deserves. But Iron Man 2, when they're breaking out Whiplash, Mickey Rourke's character from prison, and but even that plan in that movie made more sense and was more like plausible than what they did in this, because I didn't even like. I mean, it was like they cut from one thing to the next, and all of a sudden he was out of there, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, how did he even get out of his containment thing? Like, I don't understand. That scene in particular, I was just like, okay. And that happened so early on in the episode. I was like, okay, I can see this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing now. And he is out. He's totally out. He's working, quote unquote, with Sam and Bucky.
I think there's going to be still, I'm not entirely convinced that he's on the straight and narrow here with them, because
I mean, there's really no reason.
They basically made it seem like he's going to, like, it made it seem like he was going to escape and that he was like leaving them on their own. And then he did pull up in the car and
exactly
reunite with them, showing a little bit of trust, but I don't think that's necessarily a guarantee.
It's hard too, because like we haven't really seen in Civil War, we didn't really see Zemo as a threat, like physically. It was all about like his scheming and his plot to take down the Avengers through a bunch of different means. But of course, he never actually went toe to toe with any of them, like in a fight. In this episode, we don't really get a ton of Zemo like doing anything. like to that level, I guess I would say, like what you might have expected in Civil War, because they're all fighting each other like that entire movie, basically. Um, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just like wondering how can, like, because it's Sam and Bucky, basically. They're the only ones who are in on this plan, and then Sharon comes in as well. Like, he was able to outwit and take down the Avengers from inside. Like, how can they honestly think that they're going to outsmart Zemo, who did everything he did in Civil War, and think, oh, we can trust this guy, or like, oh, we can just control him, like we can, if he goes, if he steps out of line, we can take care of him or whatever. I mean, I realize Bucky's like a super soldier and all that, but I don't know. It's just it's tricky. I would say that it's a dilemma of sorts.
Yeah, we're already at the halfway point of this, so
yeah,
three
that's the
episodes
crazy
left.
part too. Yeah,
I will say, like, whether you like the plot and like where the story is going or not, it has definitely been like escalating week by week. Like, it's really ramping up to like you were mentioning, like
That's
the globe
true,
trotting and just like the scale of it all. But
yeah,
another big thing we haven't mentioned at all was the final shot, another tease of a character, and that was Ao from the Dora Milaje from Wakanda, who shows up to leaving a trail for Bucky to pick up on,
right.
and basically confronts him in an alleyway, demanding Baron Zemo, because they still want revenge on him for killing King T'Chaka back in Civil War.
Yeah, that was a pretty big.
It was nice hearing those Wakandan drums come in.
Yeah, that was a big cliffhanger for sure. I didn't know. Did we hear? Was there any rumbling that she was going to be in this show in any capacity? I didn't hear.
I hadn't heard anything. I had actually seen, because I didn't watch the episode right away on Friday morning. I didn't watch it until like Saturday afternoon. And so I had seen, not in backlash, but people were like making fun of the fact that Okoye was trending, because they people were just like, oh my God, it's Okoye. But then obviously it was not. It was
a bald Wakandan woman.
Right. And so I had seen that. So then I knew that like something along the lines was coming, but I didn't know exactly in what context.
Well, I'm glad that I didn't get that spoiled. So that was just the cool thing to see her pop up, and it remains to be seen how big of a role she'll play, if big at all. But it would be nice to see, because again, it's like kind of frustrating, we are halfway through the show, as you said, and like Sam's sister, who is so like such a big part of that season, I guess, like series opener, the episode 1, and like she's been like very much literally sidelined since then, and I
except for the phone call in this one.
Oh God, yeah, don't remind me. So yeah, it's strange. I guess we will see if she does, if Sarah pops back up on screen and has any sort of like other role, or if it's going to be a thing where, like, in the last episode, Sam goes back to Louisiana for the last 15 minutes, and he's like, oh, we're going to save the house and the boat. And she's like, oh, thank you. And then that's like it. Because I could definitely see that happening, but I hope that there's a little bit more to it. One thing I was going to mention, because this is something Jake and I were talking about in the group chat, is there's definitely a John Wick flavor to this episode. And a big part of that is, and this is something I didn't know about going into, but I saw it during the end credits, is that Derek Kolstad, who has written all the John Wick films and just recently wrote Nobody, which we reviewed last week, he wrote this episode. And there are some things in this that are directly pulled from John Wick, specifically the bounty situation that happens when they're in Madripoor.
In Madripoor.
And it's, so I have to ask you, because this irks the absolute hell out of me. There's this bounty that goes out on them because the situation in the back room where they were meeting about the serum goes to crap when the phone call happens with Sarah that you mentioned. And it kind of blows Sam's cover. And they're like, who the hell is Sam? Which I will admit, that was a very tense moment, even if I thought it was incredibly dumb the way that they set it up. Like, first off, why the hell would you have your phone on Like, I don't even have my phone on when I'm at
You're
work
not a
or at
rookie.
school. Why the fuck would you have it on when you're at a secret meeting? Like, and you're trying to hide your identity, you know what I mean? And then of course he answers it. He has to answer it. They make him answer it. And then he just like talks through like the conversation. I wasn't really sure what he was trying to accomplish. Like,
I think he was just trying to like basically like talk strange enough for
that
her
she
to
would
know that
catch on
something
to
was
it, maybe.
up, and that then she wouldn't like.
Well, that didn't
I
work.
don't
Did it? So anyway, that cover's blown, and then they kind of like a little fight, like a scuffle happens, and some shooting goes down, and then they waltz out, and they're like trying to keep it low key. Like Zemo's like, okay, we're blown. Like this is about to get a lot more difficult for us. So you think it's gonna be like this huge kind of chasing them around through the streets, kind of like the during John Wick Chapter 2, where he has to go through Manhattan and he's like fighting all these people that he runs into. It's almost like a montage that's done like pretty well, and it's pretty fun. So they're walking through the streets, and like the phones are going off. It reminded me of The Mandalorian as well, because there's a similar thing that happens in that show in season 1. And so they're going through, and you know, the streets, and you think, okay, this is about to be a crazy ass action sequence. Like they're actually going to have to fight their way out of this city. And then they like are kind of like running, and then they're in like this alleyway. And mind you, we've been shown that this message is going out to everyone. Like everyone in the city is like interested in that. And then they fight off a couple guys, and then Sharon Carter jumps out of nowhere and takes out like one dude. And then no one else shows up. Like they just like it's like that entire like momentum and that situation is just like completely cut. And they're like, oh wow, Sharon, like what are you doing here? And then she's like, oh yeah, I've been hiding out here for like months or something. And so it just so happens Sharon Carter's been hiding in Madripoor this entire time. And right when they're getting like this bounty sent on them, and like the entire city should be coming down on them, she just so happens to show up, and her taking out one dude, I guess, stops the dozens or hundreds of other people from trying to kill them. I just thought it was a completely like lost like opportunity to like have a cool action sequence, and along with the fact that it just didn't make any sense to me. Like I thought it was just a big like contrivance essentially to set up that meeting. But hey, you win some, you lose some, I suppose, on this show. I don't know. What do you think about that? Because I was wondering how Sharon was going to show up, and then that was how it was, and I was like, okay.
I mean, I didn't even like, none of that even like crossed my mind watching this. I mean, I obviously you get that big action sequence maybe like 15 minutes later in the shipping container area, where she is taking out all of the, and I guess everyone's taking out all of the like assassins that are closing in on them after getting the bounty as well.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like initially as they're going through the streets, more of like in a confined area. But I didn't have any issues with that, like when that occurred, or the whole introduction of Sharon Carter. I mean, obviously, I don't know what would have been more, I guess,
because when she popped
justified to you, because like if you're like you know she's going to come in based on like what we had seen, you know that we haven't seen her since Civil War, so I don't know how. I feel like any way that she shows up would have been dubbed like a coincidence, like whether she's been there this whole time, or whether she was like happened to be assigned to another mission, or just like, I guess the other option would have been like if they had teamed up with her initially and headed in together or something.
Yeah. See, when she popped up, I figured that it was going to be revealed that she had been like tracking them or like keeping tabs on them or something. Just because they did have that kind of relationship, at least in Civil War. But yeah, I guess they explained that I can't remember what was the exact reason that she had to go hide out in Madripoor in the first place. Like something about her because
in Civil War. In Civil War, she like stole the shield and helped Sam and Bucky and Cap escape, and then like she didn't get pardoned like everybody else did. Yeah.
So that's going to be a subplot moving forward, is her looking for this pardon. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. And then, of course, at the end, it doesn't seem clear. You kind of mentioned it earlier. Like, is there something more going on with Sharon that she's like not revealing? That could come up later. That, you know, I don't know if it'll bite Sam or Bucky in the ass necessarily, but it does seem like a tenuous kind of alliance, I guess you could say.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Any final thoughts on this episode before we move on to our news?
No, I think that's pretty much it. We'll see what happens. I don't have any inkling of what's going to happen in the episode 4. So,
well, from one episode 3 to another episode 3, Star Wars episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. What happens 10 years after that is Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new Disney Plus series. That could have been a better segue from one Disney Plus series to another. I was reaching too far, but we got there in the end. Big news. We had the reveal back at Investors Day that the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was moving forward, that Ewan McGregor would be playing an aged up Obi-Wan, and that Hayden Christensen would be returning as Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker. Well, now we've got some supporting cast members to fit the pieces around them. Moses Ingram, Joel Edgerton, Bonnie Peace, Kumail Nanjiani, Indira Varma, Rupert Friend, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Sung Kang, Simone Kessel, great Star Wars name, and Benny Safdie. So it's really all over the place. Yeah, that's loaded. It's all over the place. Joel Edgerton has already previously played Uncle Owen, and Bonnie Peace was Aunt Beru, who are the family that Luke is deposited with. So obviously assuming that they will be playing those same characters. But Kumail, that's out of nowhere, I feel like. And then Indira Varma, we know her from Game of Thrones, with Pedro Pascal. So we're just bringing over the Kingdom of Dorne. We're just bringing them back into the Star Wars universe as well. And then Benny Safdie, what? Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
What's your first reaction to all this knowledge that we've just been given?
Yeah, no, it was great, very exciting. I was already looking forward to this series just because I think everyone loves Ewan McGregor in that role of Obi-Wan, and everyone was itching to see him come back. But then as soon as it was revealed that of course we were getting Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader, and that there would be some sort of showdown to be expected with this series, I think everyone's anticipation kind of went through the roof. And now we know that they're going to be supported by, people like Joel Edgerton's back, Kumail, Shea Jackson Jr., Benny Safdie, just some really great supporting players there. And it's going to be fun to see them pop up in the Star Wars universe. And of course, a lot of these, we have no idea what capacity is. They could be playing motion capture. They could be, voices for puppets or something like that, like Nick Nolte was in Mandalorian. But this is a very, very promising group. So, I mean, I thought I couldn't get more excited, but I was obviously wrong. So this is great. I mean, nothing but good things to say about this, and hopefully they just capitalize on it with a good story and a good show.
I could see Benny Safdie being a robot. I could see him. Yeah. That makes sense to me.
That'd be
for some
funny.
reason.
I dig it.
Now we're one step closer to Adam Sandler entering the Star Wars universe.
Hey, that's the natural evolution, I feel like.
We can only dream. Other big news from this past week, we got a lot of trailers, a lot of exciting stuff. Let's kick it off with Space Jam, Johnny.
Welcome.
What are your thoughts?
Jam.
We've got Space Jam: A New Legacy, the LeBron James sequel. We got a full trailer here, and this is one, like, obviously we were excited about it, but like didn't know how to feel. And I feel like this trailer made me think this could actually be like pretty good, pretty fun.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but just it's another one of these Lego movie / Ready Player One / what else am I missing here of the just multiverse within an
Wreck-It
an
Ralph.
IP. Wreck-It Ralph, yes. What are your thoughts here of the Warner Brothers
Yeah,
multiverse?
I was already, fairly optimistic about it. I wasn't one of the Debbie Downers who's like, "Oh no, Space Jam sucks," or like LeBron James is going to be a terrible, sequel slash kind of reboot. But no, I mean, I think I was keen on it, and I think that this didn't really make me more keen on it necessarily. I think it looks exactly what I expected it to look like, and that's a good thing.
I know one thing we
like
had wondered though, like during the Entertainment Weekly piece a couple months, maybe like a month or two ago, they mentioned the whole multiverse type stuff, and they were like, we were wondering how it was going to happen, whether it's like,
Right.
okay, we just, because he mentioned like, oh, we pop into Casablanca or something, and we're like,
Right.
are they just going to like go to these different worlds, but now we know that every world is together at this basketball game. It seems like, whether you've got
Well, I think
Iron Giant or Drogon or any sort of thing you could imagine, it's
I think
there watching
most
this
of
game.
the movie, I feel like, is going to be, same as the original. You go through, and you have to kind of put the team together, so to speak. So maybe, you see them doing that list with the different characters on it. Maybe then they have to kind of explore these other universes or these other films and hop through them. And then kind of like in Ready Player One, when you had the Shining sequence, they had to go in there to get the key. So that was a whole, 10, 15-minute sequence. There could be several of those like that in Space Jam, making up the kind of middle portion of the film. And then at the end, or maybe about halfway through, they get everyone recruited, and then they kind of put the team together, and then they go and play the game. And it's not really clear what the stakes are and everything, but it looks fun. The effects look really
the
good.
stake for LeBron is to get his son back. He's
Right.
got to beat the AI played by Don Cheadle.
Right. And I guess maybe it's, and I haven't seen the original Space Jam in ages, but it's that's high stakes for LeBron, I would say. But
even though it's not his real son, he didn't let
Bronny.
Bronny make the cut.
He didn't make the cut, but no, I think it looks like it'll be a fun time. I'm not expecting anything necessarily better or worse than like something like Godzilla versus Kong, but I think it'll be fun. And just, I think, as a big movie fan, and especially on the Warner Brothers side of things, where they have so many great IPs, and I enjoyed Ready Player One, and I really, really enjoyed the Shining sequence in that movie. So, hey, call it nostalgia baiting, call it, scraping the bottom of the barrel, or, corporate, decay. I think this looks fun. I think it looks like what it needs to be. So I'm not gonna.
Another nugget there. We've also found out that Zendaya will be voicing Lola Bunny.
Yeah, that's a big get.
That's huge for just like I feel like it can't be like that big of a part or just that prestigious of a role. So shouts to Zendaya for staying busy.
That's a great pickup, and of course she's going to be in Warner Brothers Dune later this year. And then we also know with the casting on that, because I don't know if you noticed it while watching the trailer, because I didn't really, I'd forgotten about it. But we also have other basketball players cast in it, playing the Goon Squad, which are the antagonists that they're going to be playing in the basketball game. So you got Klay Thompson, Anthony Davis, Diana Taurasi, Damian Lillard. So a good group, pretty exciting, and you can. Yeah, are fun as well.
Are we gonna get a crossover of Zendaya as Lola and also Rue shows up at the game? Because we saw some HBO crossover with Game of Thrones and the Night King over there. So who knows if Euphoria crew is gonna be there?
Yeah, she does Lola's eye makeup before the game.
Incredible. We also got a trailer, 2 Marvel trailers to dive into. One is the revival here, as we're getting closer to not May 7th, but July 9th. Black Widow is starting to crank the marketing back up, it seems, after what we could probably guess would be running that department dry prior to its like last year delay. But new trailer, lots of new action. I feel like this was the first time that we got to see the like hints at the childhood flashbacks for a young Natasha with a young Chief Hopper, David Harbour,
Yes.
when he's like basically talking to her as a child. So they're finding a way to like revitalize the trailers and still make them exciting, while it doesn't seem like they've given away too much of what's going to be going on here. What was your reaction to Black Widow? I know we're kind of just like over it at this point, but still able to get me excited with that trailer.
Yeah. I didn't care nearly as much about this one as I did like Space Jam dropped like right before this, earlier that morning. So that kind of stole some of the thunder probably. And then of course we've already had like 2 trailers for this movie, I think, over the last like, I don't know, 18 months or something to that effect. It's a weird situation. I still think it looks basically what it already looked like. I didn't think there was any huge changes to this. But yeah, we get to see a little bit more backstory, a little bit more new material. But I'm lukewarm on it in general. I think once, I'll definitely see it. I'll go out to the theater and see it this summer. In IMAX, typical big screen spectacle, but I don't have any expectations on it at this point. I just hope it's solid, good closeout for that character at least. Scarlett Johansson is the Black Widow.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't think this is going to be anything revolutionary for the MCU, or it would probably be towards the bottom of my, if I had to rank what I'm excited about seeing from Marvel this year. But
that
I mean, I'm still excited, like how we were talking about Harry Potter. I don't know if you feel differently, but like I'm still going to see any Marvel movie. I'm still excited for it, and I'm sure I'll still enjoy it
right
as much as like I do a Marvel movie. So I'm glad that they're I hope they don't dive too deep and by trying to make trailers new again and like end up giving away too much. I don't think they will, but right. July 9th, let's just get it here and get it taken care of. But shortly before that, we will be seeing Loki June 11th this summer, the third of the Marvel series to hit Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
This trailer is much not better, it's different. It's very good in the sense that this is like, I did not know that this is what the show is going to be like at all, I don't think. And I'm very excited after having seen this.
Yeah, no, I feel similarly. It felt, because I thought the first trailer was good. I mean, it definitely got people's attention. Yeah, I think that was around Disney Investors Day, I think was when they actually dropped that. So a few months ago now. But this is even better. I think this gives you hopefully a better idea of the tone and kind of the humor and the way that they're going to be satirizing some things. I know we were talking about the group chat, like they're going with some absurdist like kind of angles, like with a lot of the bureaucratic stuff. Kind of got some Terry Gilliam vibes. Just like WandaVision was so Lynchian, this is very clearly going to be a high art Terry Gilliam inspired surrealist angle here from Marvel Studios. But all jokes aside, I think Tom Hiddleston, everyone loves him in the role. Getting more of him was always something that people were going to be interested in anyway, but I think that what they're doing here is going to be super, super like Loki mode, like so specific to that character in a way that will really work and be more unique than some of the other things we've seen from them so far.
Yeah, I'm just gonna sit that one out with the references to other films. I'll let you have that one. But for me, I mean, Owen Wilson seems like a charmer.
Yeah,
can't pass up Owen Wilson there. But the whole like, it almost seems like a Suicide Squad type of, okay, we've got the bad guy and we're using him to carry out our missions.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, and it did seem like I liked the visualization of like the branching off of the different realities that happened once he did vanish with the Tesseract. And so I'm curious if we'll just be seeing other things within those realities, or if it's going to be visiting like alternate versions of like stuff that we may be familiar with.
Right. Yeah. And I really, Like at this point, I don't even need to see anymore. Like I'm ready.
Right.
June, come on up. 11th, we'll be tuning in, and I'm ready.
That'll be a big gap compared
Yeah.
to WandaVision, which ended, and then this started. Falcon and Winter Soldier started 2 weeks later, but instead we'll have about a little over a month between the end of Falcon and the Winter
Also,
Soldier and the start of that.
I do gotta ask real quick. Gotta make a prediction. As soon as that cat popped up in the trailer, I thought that's a Flurkin. Is it?
Yes,
Is it?
definitely. I knew it wasn't Goose because it wasn't orange, but that was obviously I feel like you're supposed to think that.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, we'll see.
I'm
Bold.
with you there.
But yeah, so I'm excited about that. On the movie side of things, getting out of the Marvel TV and Disney Plus side, we have some exciting news on a couple different fronts. First off, some casting. We got Steven Yeun joining Jordan Peele's next horror film over at Universal, which is slated to release July 22nd of next year. I mean, this is massive because he just got nominated for his first Oscar, and he is joining Daniel Kaluuya, who is on pace to win in his first Oscar on his second nomination. They're both like incredibly hot right now. They're going to be in the same movie from one of the hottest directors in Hollywood, and then of course, you have again still pretty secretive as far as what is going to be going on in this movie. We don't know, the plot. We don't really know the setting. Of course, it's going to be a horror film, and I'm sure there's going to be some pretty heavy, social commentary as we can expect from Jordan Peele. But yeah, I was like, holy crap. Like when I saw this news, I was like, is this April Fool's? Because I think it came out on April Fool's Day. And because it seemed like too good to be true, but no, it's happening. So I'm super stoked to see him working with Jordan Peele. And I don't know what Keke Palmer, of course, is going to be in this movie as well. She, I think, is going to be the lead. And that's another thing. We don't know if it's going to be like a trifecta of main characters, if it's going to be Kaluuya and Palmer's like the two leads, and then Yeun's playing like a supporting role. But what do you think? Do you have any speculation, or what was your reaction?
Honestly, too far out for me at this point, especially when it's someone like Jordan Peele, where you have no idea what in the world is going on inside his mind. I think that any speculation would just be wasted breath at this point. All I'm doing is just appreciating the fact that we're going to get all three of these superstars working together, specifically Steven and Daniel Kaluuya, who are like you said, tearing it up right now. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I really hope, because they should be filming this summer. So maybe we'll get a title, a teaser image, something like that. Because I think we got something similar when they started filming Us a couple years ago. So
Us, they did it was like the ink blot type reflection poster that was just like the tease. But
yeah, so
this is
on that.
And it's coming July 22nd, 2022, which means that it will be opening up opposite of Black Adam, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson DC superhero film, which got its release date last week. Not much here. We've talked about this movie a bit here, but not much to be added here beyond that it's officially slated. Any reaction there on your front?
No, I mean, it's great. I tweeted about this, but just the fact that we could potentially have as many as 4 DC, live action feature films in theaters next year. I grew up a DC fan. I've always been more on the DC side of things than even Marvel and MCU, as much as I am a fan of that franchise. I don't know a ton about Black Adam. I mean, I know the basics, and I know, this cast is just really awesome right now.
I have to make a correction. I have made a mistake. I'm Steve Harvey. July 29th, 2022. Not okay, July 22nd.
It's the week after Jordan Peele's next film. But it is going up against another huge film, an even bigger one than Jordan Peele's as far as the blockbuster side of things. Indiana Jones, the fifth and final entry in that franchise, directed by James Mangold, starring Harrison Ford, of course, will supposedly be going toe to toe with Black Adam. So that'll be an interesting, turn of events if it actually goes through. But I'm excited, and I think between the Batman next March, and then this in the summer, and then potentially a Flash and Aquaman later in 2022. This could be the greatest year ever for DC fans at the movies. So nothing but excitement about that.
And our final piece of news is a big one, and it's a big dollar amount, because Netflix continues to be a big baller when it comes to acquiring films. And this time around, it's 2 films for $400 million, and that is Knives Out 2 and 3 from Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig returning as Benoit Blanc. Instant reaction, Johnny.
Yeah, okay. Instant reaction. My instant reaction was, what the hell? Because I don't think anyone saw this coming. I don't think there was even hints that this was going to be a thing. Of course, Rian Johnson, Knives Out was a quote unquote original film, heavily inspired by Agatha Christie, whodunits. And Rian Johnson, he's getting his bag, clearly. $400 million for the original film cost like $40 million, I think. And of course, a lot of that went to the cast, because it was just such a loaded cast. But Netflix, they know no bounds with their spending. They are going all out to try to make franchises. This is on top of them spending $250 million on The Gray Man, which is currently in production, which had been labeled as like their kind of first real blockbuster film. And this is who knows how much of that money because apparently these budgets are seemingly unlimited for these films. And this first sequel is going to be filming this summer in Greece. It's nuts. It's going to be interesting to see how this pays off, because while Knives Out was a breakout hit without a doubt, I think it made 300 million, something in that neighborhood. It did, got great reviews and everything. It's hard to imagine like that kind of money being spent on movies like this. And it hurts theatrical, of course, because this is something we talked about in the group chat. Josh was mentioning, that's a small, mid-budget film. You don't see a lot of mid-budget films in theaters these days. And to see that they are going to streamers, and this was of course a competitive bid between Netflix, I'm sure Amazon and Apple, 400 million ended up being the number. And yeah, wow. And then on top of this, of course, I'll posit this to you. And you can add in any thoughts about the actual deal itself. But who would you like to see in this, at least this first sequel? And do you have any speculation that who Rian Johnson might be teaming up with this time?
Honestly, I feel like there could be any combination of people here, and they would make it work. That was the thing that was so great about the first one, was that it was just like people from all over, like different genres or different levels of stardom and decades. I know you sent, I'll defer to you for that, because you sent a list and I was basically like, yep, I can see every single one of these people that you had posted on Twitter. And I was all for all of those. But I will say one of the things, I don't think we mentioned it, but it's supposedly the second one is going to be filming in Greece this summer.
That was interesting.
So yeah, we'll see if Benoit Blanc, I assume that if it's filming there, that means it is taking place there. So yeah, probably Benoit Blanc is an international detective now.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'd be curious, assuming that it is going to be set there. Like, Greece is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, so I would like to see them definitely take advantage of that landscape and the culture there. It'll be interesting to see how that all factors in. But yeah, I think I was mentioning online, someone asked me, who would you like to see? And I kind of had like just a list that I thought of. Ryan Gosling. I was also trying to think of actors who are great in general, and not, so I think the best dramatic actors can also make for some of the best like comedic actors as well. But Ryan Gosling, Daniel Kaluuya, who is again so hot right now, and he just hosted SNL and was hilarious on there. Russell Crowe, Stephen Yeun, again, and probably both those guys, because they're doing the Jordan Peele film, probably won't be able to, pop in if that was even possible. Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman, Chalamet, again, so hot right now.
Adam Driver,
Driver.
reunite him with Ryan Johnson. That'd be a good one.
Exactly. Even, and speaking of reuniting, John Boyega, I think would be great, because he just won, I think it was an Emmy for Golden Globe for his role in the Steve McQueen film, and then others like Sacha Baron Cohen. I mean, that's a no-brainer. He's hilarious. Olivia Colman, again, hilarious. Bakalova. John C. Reilly, I think, is super underrated and one of the funniest actors alive. So plenty of options. I'll be amazed. I'll definitely be quote tweeting that if any of them actually end up in it. But I think as someone who didn't love it, I would like to see some great actors in this, because it could always boost my interest.
Let me throw one more in there, and that is Julia Butters. If we're gonna have a little kid in here, similar to that Nazi boy, why not throw Julia Butters in there? She's a star, and I'm excited to see more from her after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
absolutely,
I'm in.
Well, I'm sure in the next, I think they said May or June or something for filming. So they'll probably those whoever they cast will probably be coming out here, the near future. But speaking of cast loaded with people, the Godzilla versus Kong has
two stars right there.
two of the biggest stars in the world, you might say. Godzilla vs. Kong came out this weekend on HBO Max and in theaters, and it also stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Aiza Gonzalez, and Kyle Chandler. Some of those returning from previous films in the franchise, but most of them are new. Zach, how has this film been received thus far?
Godzilla vs. Kong, the epic monster smackdown that everyone's been waiting for. We've built it up with the Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island. It was only a matter of time, as you saw by the bracket in the opening sequence of this movie, that they were on a collision course. Rotten Tomatoes currently has this film at 76% critic score, 93% audience score. So pretty high all around. Definitely, I would expect more of a higher audience score than a critic score, but still it's certified fresh, I believe. So well respected by the critics. Myself, I came in at a 71 out of 100. Johnny, how about you?
Yeah, I gave it, I think you mentioned it earlier, I gave it 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, so about around 60 probably, maybe just a little bit lower than that. On top of how well it's doing with reviews, which it has the best reviews out of all of these movies so far in the Monsterverse. The box office has been like a huge discussion with this movie, because it is getting it's the widest release of any film during the pandemic era. And so far, it has been making the biggest boom at the box office as well. Fittingly, $285 million worldwide, has the largest domestic opening of the pandemic over the 5-day weekend. Easter weekend brought in $48.5 million. Absolutely crushed the previous best, which I think was like 18 or something for Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, it just blew it out of the water. So really great overall, all around, and it still has been doing numbers. It was the biggest HBO Max release of HBO Max's entire existence, which is coming up on a year now. So winners all around, I think, on that front.
Definitely. Let's get into this. Here's the synopsis before we break it down. Legends collide in Godzilla vs. Kong as these mythic adversaries meet in a spectacular battle for the ages. With the fate of the world hanging in the balance, Kong and his protectors undertake a perilous journey to find his true home, and with them is Gia, a young orphaned girl with whom he has formed a unique and powerful bond. But they unexpectedly find themselves in the path of an enraged Godzilla, cutting a swath of destruction across the globe. The epic clash between the two titans, instigated by unseen forces, is only the beginning of the mystery that lies deep within the core of the Earth. So basically, let's simplify that here. Godzilla begins attacking, and for so long, as you'd seen in the previous two movies, he had been the only good guy, the Titan that is the protector of humans. But our PVC suddenly changing. So to combat that, they're trying to take Kong, who's been in captivity, hidden away from Godzilla, and send him to Hollow Earth, where he can find, which is exactly that. It's the center of the Earth where these Titans originated, so that he can find his home, and they can either bring reinforcements to protect themselves or send Godzilla there. But along the way, now that he's out in the public, the two alphas can't just get along and be friends. So instead, they're gonna smack down. But
Exactly.
Thoughts on this movie, Johnny? Like I said, I have not heard anything besides your Letterboxd rating. I want to know what you were very excited about this. We both were, but I feel like you were more so than myself. What how did it live up to your expectations?
It's fine. It's all right. It's exactly what it says on the tin, which I think is what most people wanted out of this movie. Godzilla and Kong beat the shit out of each other on more than one occasion, which is always good. And you know, the humans are kind of what you would expect. And I know people are like, and you see this every time one of these movies comes out now, which has been like 4 times in the last 7 years or whatever. Oh, the humans don't matter. Like you can't criticize the humans. You're just there for the monsters. Like that's all anyone cares about. And that is true. That is what everyone cares about, is the monsters. But the humans are part of the movie. Like you cannot act like they don't matter because they're in there, and that's how they choose to make these movies and write these movies. And on top of that, you also have it's not about the plot. It's about the bang bang and the boom boom. Well, okay, yeah, that's true too. But then you do have a plot that you kind of have to follow to make these monsters fight each other. And they do come up with a wild and zany plot that you kind of broke down for us just there. The monster fights, I would say they deliver for the most part. They look great. The effects are fantastic, as would you'd expect. They're filmed well. You can see what's going on, which I have to take my hat off, because you didn't have any issues with it. But Godzilla King of the Monsters, I thought was just like, it was just nonsense. Like I could not make out anything because there was so much snow and ice and rain and smoke and darkness clouding everything. But yeah, I thought this was shot a lot better, choreographed a lot better. The effects look fantastic. The score is pretty good from Junkie XL. And I thought they did a decent job of like getting you to really kind of root for Kong or Godzilla or both, and kind of twisting your feelings about who you want to see actually win, so to speak. And I saw it in IMAX, which was great. I think watching it at home like you did, I don't think I would have enjoyed it quite as much. And I had fun with it. I had a decent time at the movies with a big, basically sold out, limited capacity crowd, and it was a fun enough night out at the movies, I would say.
Well, Johnny, for me, when a movie starts off with a bracket, a March Madness bracket, showing monsters just beating the shit out of each other, and that's in the first 30 seconds, I know you said it, but I know that I'm not going to be in here looking for Shakespearean dialogue or for a character beyond Kong that has a wonderful arc of character development. So I was in the perfect mindset going into this movie to fully enjoy it for what it is and what it set out to be. And I think that, like you said, it does a very good job of delivering on these monster fights that you're looking for. I have to say this: if you are Team Godzilla, first of all, let me ask you: are you Team Kong or Team Godzilla?
After the movie?
Well, let me clarify. If you are, we all know, spoiler alert, we all know that Godzilla won.
Right.
But if you're Team Kong and who you were rooting for, if you're not Team Kong and who you were rooting for, then you simply cannot be trusted. Like,
Yeah,
how
I mean,
can
I
anyone
definitely didn't
watch
wanna
this
see
movie?
Kong go down, you know what I mean?
How can anybody watch this movie and be Team Godzilla? Like, it's very clear. Like, this seemed almost like, I know it's Godzilla versus Kong, but it seemed like a Kong movie that Godzilla was in, because
Yeah,
he was like the central character and they were trying to find his home, and you spent so much time with him, and then Godzilla shows up and goes bang bang. So
yeah, and I
this
didn't.
this was interesting. Like, I didn't know to expect that, but I feel like I can have a much better connection and root for Kong more than I can for Godzilla, who we've never really learned much about.
Right. Yeah, Kong. I kind of expected it, but I'm not sure. I know there's only like you have to have they came up with a story for this to kind of. I mean, it's all contrivances to like get them to fight each other and to want to fight each other, get them in the same place, same time, all that good stuff. And they do a fine enough job with that. But yeah, I wasn't really expecting them to go fully in. Like Kong is basically the main character, like the protagonist that you're with from beginning to end. Uh, and I wasn't sure. Like, I feel like maybe it's almost like they didn't give Godzilla like a fair shake in that respect. Um, because of course, I mean, Godzilla's had 2 movies of his own so far, and Kong has had 1. Um, but they've built Godzilla up to be such like he's a great, he's a good guy, he's a protector, like he was defending the Earth and all this other stuff. Um, I just felt like there was such a huge disconnect from like again, we know this is part of the MonsterVerse, and it's like a franchise that's kind of each movie builds upon the next. But for this, it was like I feel like you could have completely erased the second Godzilla movie and still have this make sense.
But then you
Like-
wouldn't have had nearly as many brackets at the beginning.
Like it's like there was no continuation. Like they just threw all that shit out the window. Like what happened to Mothra? What happened to Charles Dance? What happened to Vera Farmiga?
Well, she blew up. Charles Dance, I was kind of expecting him to be in this because at the post-credit scene of King of the Monsters,
to be like still around.
It sets up the whole Mecha Godzilla,
right?
Because that's the skull that they're
and that's kind of what
they're picking up.
That's the strangest part is why did they have this new tech billionaire guy when they already had a guy like that set up in the previous movie with the stuff to make Mecha Godzilla? That's what I expected after that second Godzilla movie was Charles Dance is he's gonna go really bad and then he's gonna make this Mecha Godzilla to take out the real Godzilla, which is basically what they kind of set up in this. Spoiler alert. There is a Mecha Godzilla, which everyone kind of speculated or had known about, so it wasn't a surprise. But I wish they had honestly gone a little bit quieter about that. Like I don't think we needed him to be teased in the slightest. Like I think they could have totally hidden any mention of him or any it almost felt like Batman v Superman where okay, you have Batman and Superman fighting, you have Wonder Woman, you have Lex Luthor. Why do you need to advertise that Doomsday is in the movie? Like if people aren't already going into the theater and paying for a ticket to see all that other shit, Doomsday being in the movie is not going to incentivize them anymore than what the other stuff was. Same thing with this. I feel like if you're not already invested in wanting to go see Godzilla and King Kong smash the shit out of each other, adding Mecha Godzilla into the mix is not going to make you more excited. Like it's just extra. And so I feel like that would have been a fun, cool, like imagine how your mind would have melted if you just thought it was Godzilla and Kong fighting each other. Even if there might have been tease or speculation about, oh, well, they must team up to fight someone. Like, who could that be? It could really be anyone. It could be any other Titan that you can think of. But if it was Mecha Godzilla, you'd be like, holy shit, like they actually like went that route. So I thought that was kind of a missed opportunity. But I thought Mecha Godzilla was still cool because it does turn into kind of like a Godzilla and Kong have to team up, of course, and it's like 2-on-1.
Right.
What did you think? Because there's really, I guess, you could kind of break it up into 3 fights, like 3 separate fights that happen. There's the one earlier in the film that on
the boat fight,
and then there's Godzilla versus Kong at the titular fight toward the end. And then, of course, they team up to take out Mecha Godzilla. So how did you feel about those three? How would you compare them or rank them?
I would honestly say I probably enjoyed the boat fight the most. I would probably say that it was in that order. It was 1, 2, 3. That's the order that they were in, and that's how I would rank them as well.
Yeah. Which I think that was another thing that was a little bit to the film's detriment, was that I felt that first fight with the boat was so well done. I thought it looked fantastic. The effects were amazing, and it was actually, there was tension, there was suspense. It was like, how the hell is Kong going to get out of this? Like, Kong is really on the ropes here. He's not in a good position. How are the humans going to get out of this? They're in a horrible position. Godzilla is just going ballistic. And then the fight, like, it evolves. Like, Kong frees himself, and then he flips the humans over, and then he has to jump to another boat to fight Godzilla. And then the humans are trying to, shoot stuff at Godzilla and, like, help Kong, who's getting drowned. And then they have to come up with a total solution at the end to get Godzilla to leave them alone. So I thought that was just so well done. And I actually was, like, on the edge of my seat, like, holy shit, what's going to happen? And so it was, I don't want to say let down, but I definitely didn't think that the final fight between the two was as good or as well done as that boat fight, because I didn't feel as much suspense necessarily. And I really do think part of it, and maybe why I didn't enjoy this film as much as I had hoped. And I'm not crazy about the other MonsterVerse movies. I think this would maybe be third in my ranking. I think there's more. The aims of Godzilla 2014 are much higher than what this film aims for, which I think is commendable. And then Kong Skull Island, I think, might still be my number one, just because it's so much fun and, like, totally self-aware. I feel like this film is a little bit more self-serious than Kong Skull Island is, even though it is pretty goofy. But I think
I'm Kong Skull Island, this King of the Monsters, then OG Godzilla.
Oh wow, okay. Interesting. But yeah, I think that I think what doesn't really work for me maybe about it is that this movie in particular, like that final fight, I felt like I was, like, kind of checking out a little bit, like, mentally. Because while it does, like, the effects are great. I can't overstate that enough. Like, they are amazing. And, I feel like the Academy, if you want to talk about Oscars, because, we are in Oscar season right now, they usually do tend to shy away from just huge CGI fests towards more practical and kind of mixing special effects and digital. But so maybe this won't get recognized, but it looks fantastic. And like I said, the neon lighting looks cool, and you can see everything that's going on. But for me, like, when these giant monsters are just, like, eviscerating Hong Kong, like, I feel like we need to touch on that too. Like, they are the city is fucked. Like, it's destroyed. In a way that I don't think thank you for chiming in there. In a way that I don't think is even remotely, like, maybe one of the Transformers movie probably comes close. There are several of them probably come close or about as worse. I think that this whole buildings are just obliterated, one after the other, and the monsters are falling down and throwing each other and destroying them. Explosions are happening. And after like a minute of it, I was just kind of like, oh my God, like, it's like, I don't know, my mind just kind of goes numb almost. And I think a big part of it too is I feel the same way. And I guess you could compare it to something like Endgame, like the giant fight that happens in that movie, or even something like Lord of the Rings. Because of course that final battle in Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, like there's a ton of digital effects and like, visual effects that are happening. But I feel like when it's just digital, like it's harder for me to like really stay focused on it. Like, because I know it's just like they're doing literally anything they want, and none of it is real. Like none of it has any. Like these characters aren't concerned about the consequences of this shit. Like there's no there's no thought put to the actual reality of the situation, which I guess is something that I would also commend like Godzilla 2014, because I feel like they put a little bit more into that element of it, like almost like a natural disaster. Because it's like the movie ends, like the fight ends, and then it's just like, oh yay, like it's over. But like Hong Kong is like, it's going to be fucked for like the next 100 years, basically.
That is one thing that I
because
found myself like thinking about during this. I was like, because I in the first Godzilla you get San Francisco and then the whole world in the second Godzilla, and I'm like, how long does it take to recover from this? Like San Francisco, by the time this one's happening, like San Francisco is just barely like getting itself back together. Like they've just now cleaned the streets. Like I can't imagine. Like it's insane. Just the fact that they think that they can keep having these movies happen every. I don't know what the. There's not. They didn't specify, I don't think, but there's not like a crazy big time jump between these two. So it's like
right. No, it's just a few years, probably tops.
Insane.
But no, I think that's it. I'm glad I'm not alone in that respect. And then even on top, like leaving the destruction out of it, like I'm thinking about the Hollow Earth sequence. How did you feel about that? Because it is a big part of the plot, going down there and getting this power source and all that kind of stuff. But what did you? Because it is dumb. Like it's objectively dumb, right? This whole idea that they can go down and there's like this anti-heavy gravity
Tenet, baby, inversion
that they wear, and they turn upside down and then they fly 1,000 miles an hour and then they pop back out. It's all nonsense. But like, how did you actually feel about that whole sequence? Like the way it plays out, how it looks, how it feels? Because it is a pretty big detour towards like, I'd say maybe the end of the second act, going into like the big battle at the end.
I thought it was pretty cool, honestly. Like I had no idea that that's where it was gonna go.
Okay.
I honestly, I did not watch like too many trailers for this movie, so I didn't like. I don't know if that was hinted at being part of the film in the trailer, but I didn't expect that, and so I thought it was pretty cool. Dumb, yes, but like in general, but like I thought that they executed it well and that it was fun, and again, huge Kong guy here, so just seeing him run around and enjoy himself down there, I was all about it. Right. My guy is home, even though we didn't find any other Titans to hang out with.
I do agree. I liked how they tied it back at the end, and he actually did go home, so to speak. But the reason I mentioned
and the humans are just living down there now.
Yeah, that's weird. That's the thing. It's like this felt very much like, because the Marvel movies have their own logical jumps and things that you kind of just have to roll with. You know what I mean? Because it's a comic book movie universe. Like it's not real. But this, it's like it felt almost like a Fast and Furious movie, but like worse as far as like the logic and like the physics and like anything to do with reality. Like for example, there's this, and I couldn't understand what it was at first, and then I gradually began to figure it out. There's like this train that they take, or like some sort of transport system they're in Florida, and then they go to Hong Kong, and it's Brian Tyree Henry and Millie Bobby Brown, and then the other kid who's in it from Hunt for the Wilder People, and they're on this it's like a little capsule type thing, and it's in a tube. I think, I don't know if it's underground or going through the planet, or I don't know. It's not totally clear, but it's going like 700 miles per hour. And when it takes off, it literally goes from like 0 to 700 in like a matter of seconds, basically. And like, they're just sitting there and they're like, oh no, it's taken off. They're like, oh God. And then, but like, instead of like falling down or like getting slammed to the back of the pod or like passing out, like they're just like kind of standing there, like grabbing on. They're like, oh no, here we go. And then it cuts back to them like 10, 15 minutes later, and they're still on the pod, and they're just like chilling there. They're writing, like taking notes, like planning like what they're going to do. Like they would be fucking either dead or like passed out, like drooling, like slammed against the back of this pod.
Johnny. Again, I'm going to reference to the bracket at the start of this movie.
I don't give a shit about that bracket.
I'm going to reference the bracket because when it comes to the nitty gritty and picking apart these details or lapses in common sense, I think that's the least of the worries here. Monkey go smash. Godzilla burr burr. 55. Okay, Johnny's not here for fun. Johnny wants the Shakespearean dialogue.
What was your favorite part of the movie?
The boat fight, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. Again, I think it was legitimately very good, like great. And then there was another part I want. The little girl in this movie is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, agreed.
She's the heart of the movie. She's the heart and soul of the movie. She's like the best human character. And I thought her relationship with King Kong was very well done. And then there's one other part that I wanted to mention that I thought was funny and like a good callback and like a smart, clever thing that they did. There's this part because she's deaf, so she signs most of the time. And then they call back to... There's this thing where Alexander Skarsgård, she's trying to she's communicating to Rebecca Hall's character, and she says, "Oh, this guy's a coward." And so, but she doesn't tell Alexander Skarsgård that that's what she said. She says, "Oh, it says you're like brave or something."
Courageous, I think.
You're courageous. And then later in the movie, when they're about to do this like crazy plan where he might get killed, and it's supposed to help Kong like come back to life or whatever, she says, I can't remember exactly how it's done, but it calls back like the coward thing. And he still doesn't realize what's going on. Like he doesn't understand that that's what he was called earlier. And then he's like something along the lines of, well, I guess we're both, brave or whatever. Right. I just thought that was like very funny and like kind of clever. And that was definitely, again, the heart of the movie. I wish, God, they really just could have cut out the Brian Tyree Henry and Millie Bobby Brown shit. Even though I like Brian Tyree Henry and I thought he was funny and I thought he had some of the best laughs in the movie. I think if you just kept that like A plot and involved the deaf girl even more and made her a more central character, Gia, made her like the full on like bona fide like lead as the human, and then Rebecca Hall and Alexander Skarsgård like more supporting her. I think that would have made it for an even better kind of like story. Even then, you're still going to have the Hollow Earth, like crazy nonsense kind of stuff. I think that would have kept my attention a little bit more and cut out some of the excess, I think, fat or like just nonsense stuff that was going on with the Millie Bobby Brown subplot.
I could see that. I didn't hate it, but it was definitely the weakest of the storylines here.
Yeah,
but
between the two, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know you kind of touched on that being your final thoughts there. Anything before we wrap it up here? 71 from Zach. Johnny dropped his score mid-discussion from a 60 to a 55. So harsh critic over there.
I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's quite bad. It's just, I know it's dumb. It's entertaining, like dumb, fun, entertaining, whatever you want to call it. It's enjoyable in IMAX. Like it was a fun little night out at the movies. As I already said, I would, I'd recommend it in that respect. I don't think I would necessarily enjoy this as much at home watching it on HBO Max. Give it a shot, especially if you've liked the previous movies. There's no way you're not going to enjoy this, I don't think. I've been more so on the previous movies, and I don't think this is my favorite by any means. But I'm glad that it's doing well. I'm glad movies are back. It's a good, it'll be remembered fondly, I think, overall.
Yeah, I am obviously much more positive on this than you are. I think it's all about going in with the right mindset, knowing what you're going to get. And if you don't know going in, you do know within the first 30 seconds, because there is a bracket. And that was a huge,
that was so weird.
It was very strange, but I think that it did a great job of setting the tone and really just letting you know what you're in for.
I'll give you that, Zach. I'll give you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone who's listening, who's tuned in week in and week out. We really, really can't thank you enough, because without you, there would be no reason for us to be doing this. So thank you all for tuning in.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting us on social media. Love talking to you guys on there. Love doing the giveaways, doing polls, the memes, all that good stuff. Follow us on Twitter for that and Instagram, TikTok, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel where we post all the podcast episodes and more. You can find those accounts at Inside Film Room.
And while you're at it, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. We're on Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon, Google. I know there's one more. I'm forgetting it.
Spotify,
Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Amazon, wherever. YouTube, forgot about YouTube. We are there.
Oh, yeah.
And be sure to come back next week. We're not quite sure what we'll be doing yet, but it's going to be a good one. So we'll talk to you then.